You're listening to Through Our Lens with the Disabled and Non-Disabled Alliance at Sacramento State, a club, organization, whatever, for disabled students, staff, and their allies to discuss and educate each other about disability-related topics, advocate on behalf of disabled students and the community, and to hang out together and just be a community.
So we want to be more recognizable to Sac State. So please join the conversation by following and messaging us on Instagram at Dana@SacState. It's DANA@SacState. Hey everyone, welcome to the 11th episode of Through Our Lens with the Disabled and Non-Disabled Alliance. This is a podcast where we have a conversation on disability. My name is Brian Tao, and I'm one of the officers and the host of the podcast. Our topic today is just going to be a conversation on the Bouquet of Friends and how it's kind of related to disability, or kind of like friends and disability, how that's kind of interconnected. And as always, it's going to be a very freeform format, so expect a conversation with many tangents, just like how a regular conversation would go. And I'm here today with a member and a president of the Disabled and Non-Disabled Alliance, Kimberly and William.
Hello.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, and to kind of get us started, I think Kimberly's just gonna explain the title a little bit more: Bouquet of Friends and Disability. And like this topic is all of her ideas, so we're just gonna go off of hers.
Oh goodness. Okay, that's a lot of pressure. Well, okay, my name is Kimberly, and I heard this idea of marble jar friends, where it would be I don't know, when I was a little kid, and I was in first grade, and the teacher would say, "Hey class, great job today, you get a marble," kind of thing. And then I've heard that kind of compared to friends, where like, how do you tell if someone's your friend, or how do you tell if you can trust someone? And then, well, everyone's different, so maybe like the way somebody could gain my trust would probably be just like smile at me, and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, 5 marbles, yay!" And then I would like put them in my jar. But I changed it to like bouquets because I'm kind of like a hippie type of person, and I like flowers, so more than little marbles. So I was like thinking, like as you give out your flowers, and then you have a beautiful bouquet. And like, so it doesn't just mean like, like each friend is a flower. What I mean is like, when a friend does something that really makes you say like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing." And I'm sure it's different for everyone, like for example, like I don't know, how about you guys, like when a friend, or even just someone who's not a friend but just does something that you say like, "Wow, that really touches my heart," or "Oh my gosh, like you really were thinking about me. I cannot believe you did," like that, overwhelming feeling.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I guess like the Bouquet of Friends is just like, I guess like who do you consider your friend? That's basically it. You put them in the bouquet if like you consider them like your friend, right?
No, I don't mean it like that. Sorry, I didn't.
What do you mean?
I mean, sorry, like a marble jar. Like, for example, like let's say that each friend has their own marble jar. Okay, so let's see, we've got friend A, and then we've got friend B, and then we've got friend C. So friend A decides to like scream at you when you're in a bad mood. So you're like, "Marbles out of the jar, friend A. That was really hurtful." Boom. And then poor friend A, is like leaking marbles, and your jar looks pretty darn empty. And then friend B is like, "La la la, here is a coffee latte. La la la, I love you, my friend." And then you're like, "Oh my gosh, you are the coolest, friend B. I will give you a marble. Thank you, darling." And then friend C is like, "Yo, let's go bowling tomorrow." And you're like, but my shoes are broken. And then friend C is like, "Yo, I will give you my shoes." And then you're like, "Wow, that's really nice. Like, don't you need them?" "No, man, like you're my best friend, you take my shoes, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like friend C, you're so
Okay.
kind. And then so friend C has like a bunch of marbles, and then cafe latte has like a bunch of marbles, but then like friend A is like literally like who knows what's going on, and the marbles are going, they're just leaking out. So for me that would be flowers, right? So instead
Mhm.
of marbles, because I like nature kind of stuff and flowery stuff, I would say like this, friend A is like wilting. Okay, like the bouquet is wilting and the flowers are not there, they're falling out, their petals are dropping off. But then friend B is getting like flowers in the bouquet, and then friend C, it's ready for like, sale. It's like a full bouquet and it's like fabulous. Like that's what I mean. Like each time a friend does something amazing, you put flowers in the bouquet, or in the case of the marble jar, maybe I guess you guys are more like
Yeah.
you want to see it. In the marble jar, you can see that because it's a clear jar, right? And you can imagine it in your mind like dropping and the marbles in as they do things. So I guess the question would be then, how in your minds, and even the listeners' minds too, be thinking about your own lives and your own selves, and how friends, how people, how who you consider a friend, how you give out your marbles, and how does this relate to disability? Obviously,
Mhm.
because we're like as a person who has a disability, I factor that in when I give out marbles, obviously, like how receptive people are to how I am as who I am. So, anyways, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that explanation. It just makes a lot more sense. So it's like I guess it's like an emotional kind of response. It's like you do nice things, I'll give you more marbles or more flowers. But if you do like a bad thing, then I'm gonna take away, I guess, like the marbles or flowers, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that's totally it.
Okay.
But the thing
Mhm.
is, the good and bad thing is quite difficult, right, to
Yeah,
explain,
it's hard.
because for you, like for me, a smile is like five marbles, but for
Hmm.
you, maybe it's nothing. And then for William, well, we'll wait to hear what what William has to say on this. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Hmm.
But what I mean is like it's not the same for everyone. So
Hmm.
a good for me is doesn't mean it's a good for you. And so this is how it relates to disability, and this is how it relates to us, because we are who we are, and who we are, well, we have a disability. So there
Hmm.
you go. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that makes sense. So I guess our question is like, who do you consider your friend? I guess William can start first,
Well, how you
or
give
who?
marbles is my
Okay.
question. Like how
Okay, we're gonna start with that question first. Okay.
oh, sorry. No. Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, I
You
mean,
can continue.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean like your question. I don't know. Yeah, I guess we can just do my question. I guess like how do you consider your friends? How do you know like your friend is your friend?
Let me I want to try
Hmm.
and put things in more like theoretical language for
Hmm.
myself, if
Yeah,
for
go
no
for it.
minutes. Um, there is occasionally a problem that disabled people face, which is that the so-called statistically normal ways of like interacting with others and doing navigating interpersonal relationships, the ways which we're often taught by our various pedagogues and parents, etc., are broken. Like the codes don't work the same way for a person with a disability as they might for people without disabilities, and they don't work as well for people in disabled like interaction, the non-disabled person and a disabled person.
Mm,
Those usual ways of establishing and maintaining interpersonal relationships uh, may not are not as effective or don't affect the same kinds of relationships for some disabled people as they do for non-disabled people. That's sort of what I'm getting at. What I'm perceiving here is occasionally a problem, not for all disabled people, but maybe for everybody ever, right? Because there's no two people who share all the exact same interpersonal propensities and ideas.
mm,
Um,
mm,
but in any case, like there is a salient issue, a salient division between disabled people and non-disabled people when it comes to navigating interpersonal relationships. So to that end, and in a society, in a social system where trust is precious and needs to be allocated carefully because we are in competition with one another all the time, that becomes kind of a dangerous thing. If you trust nobody, obviously you're alone, you're like me. If you trust everybody or trust people too much, you can wind up on the wrong side of exploitation, and some folks wouldn't even realize it, at least not in the terms that are most theoretically apt for that situation. Which is all to say that it can be useful to have tools at hand mentally to rework those interpersonal relationships, to understand them in one's own terms. A marble jar or a bouquet can help with that. It's a very visual, like, illustration that you build for yourself over time of how, good a friend is. And the question then comes up, like, exactly what is worth a flower, what is worth a marble. Of course, there are different ways of allocating those things, of assigning value to words and deeds and ideas. But before then, it just seems intuitively appealing to have this, like, visual tool, I guess, to categorize friendships and measure them by. That way, you can more appropriately allocate trust. Is the idea from me. So that is kind of a new idea to me. I had not considered, like, a visual metaphor for to navigate friendships by. I guess for myself, the view becomes, I guess, economic. That is, trust is, in my current methodology, in my current modus operandum, is to be allocated by, like, individual interests, by things like considerations like what each of us wants out of the set of interactions in which we're engaged, the rule governed system, whatever it happens to be, whether it's like a classroom or a workplace, whatever it is. Ergo, we are, friends insofar as our interests are aligned, and then only in those subject areas where interests are aligned. And so outside the classroom, we would not be friends if we don't have, like, other classes together, but we do have a study group. Something along those lines would be normal for me. It's not a visual metaphor, but it's like it's like a there's kind of a version of it. There's this evaluative process that's a little different from what I take to be the statistically usual way of allocating trust and evaluating friendships, etc. And I'm not proposing that as, like, a good idea, because the result is that I don't have anybody whom I consider to be, like, a friend per se. I can count on my fingers the number of people who actually know me and who actually like me. And most of them are blood relatives, but not all my immediate family is on there, right? So it's like, this is probably not the right way to go about it, but it has been, like, my method, and so I'll share that out, I guess. Yeah, it's a bit like there isn't a friendship. There's co-workerships, etc.
Yeah, it feels like, I don't know, like, I guess your classmates are kind of not really companions, but, like, yeah, it's exactly like coworkers. Like, you work together, you know each other, but then, like, you don't really talk outside of that workplace, outside of school. And, like, for me, I've considered, like, relationships. I mean, relationships with classmates and stuff. Like, they're, like, my friend, but, like, we don't really hang out, like, every day. We don't talk. Like, after the class ends, we just stop talking. Like, do you consider, I guess, like, they're your friends, but not, like, close friends or, like, true friends.
Or it's,
Well,
like, circumstantial. Yeah, I don't know.
there's one exercise that we can all do, or people at home can do, or we can do after this podcast as well. But it's you really think about who in your life is really, really important to you, and then just go through in your mind, like, all the people you know, and then when you get to that kind of shining star, if you will, like, or the person with the tons, standing there with a full marble jar, or with, like, a bouquet of flowers or whatever, then you would write them down on this this little piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you would do is within the week, you would just give them a shout out. Like you would just be like, hey, I'm getting aligned with who is important to me. And I just want to let you know you're VIP, like that's just like one thing. Because you were mentioning like about friends and stuff. I mean, I guess we don't have to label that person a friend or whatever, but I mean, it's that exercise is kind of amazing in a way because you realize like you don't really have to call someone something, but there might be a person that's just a classmate to you, but you're like, this person rocks my world. Like you're important. Like, hey, bro, thanks for being you. Like just reaching out.
Yeah, I think that is kind of helpful, trying to find like your true like friends, because like I know people, we all know people, but we don't actually like think about it most times, right?
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's not necessary to like label someone as a friend, but it's just so how in your life, like it's kind of a weird concept, but what's something, if you can think back or even think forward, like what's something that someone's done for you that you would consider a flower, or in the case of marbles, because you guys seem to like the marbles better. And what's some deed that you can remember that just was really gets a marble, and some deed that would take away a marble too.
Yeah, I can go first. I can think of like an instance right now. So I guess during spring break, like a couple of my friends and I did a picnic together, and we kind of like painted, I guess like painted things on canvases like in the picnic. And like for me, I can't really paint. My hands just ain't built for it. So it's like I just like watching people. And basically one of my friends, without telling me, was painting me a panda. So like
Oh,
so I was like surprised when they gave it to me. Like, here, this is for you. What? It's for me? So like
oh,
that's like a big Marvel thing because it was a surprise. It's really like kind of wholesome in a way.
that's so sweet. So that's marbles in the jar. So there you
Yeah.
go. Oh, William.
Pass.
No, no, come on, come
I'm a
on.
strict contrarian. I mean, I can think of an instance where some marbles left the jar,
All right, fine.
but
I
it takes
mean,
kind
go
of a
for
long
it.
time to describe if I were to do this so in detail.
Well, come on. So you're telling me you're sitting around in a room with empty jars all over the place? Come on, like.
Actually, legitimately, yes. Hang on, this is kind of hilarious, but I do actually have several
No,
empty jars just next to my.
no. Okay, come on, come on. Like,
not,
okay,
not metaphorical.
okay. Well, I love this story about the panda picture.
Mhm.
That is so. I would be like, you get 10 marbles. Oh my gosh, that
Yeah,
would
that is wholesome.
wholesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So come on, William. Like even a smile, a cup of coffee in the morning, and a hey, William, how's it going? You love
Yeah.
like a nice conversation with you, right? Come on, come on. There's got to be
There,
someone who got a marble in the past.
there is a coworker of mine
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
who kind of goes above and beyond in terms of like carrying conversations with me when we're on things when we're doing like rounds together and so on. I you don't I have seldom or never had people like think with me. I think that it's one of those things that I really want to happen, but it just doesn't. There's very little opportunity for it in the first place, and then you have to find the right person to be have open to having a long and involved like philosophical conversation. Which is to say that I very rarely have like fulfilling conversations with people. It's usually it's usually this like awkward series of exchanges where neither of us is sincere, and where maybe I put something forward and the other person's clearly uninterested, etc. But there's this one coworker of mine who goes out of her way to like ask those questions anyway. She's not interested, no, but that's just for lack of an overlap between our areas of study, she'll still like try to engage with the conversation. And that's been consistent behavior from her, and it's kind of nice. Yeah, I suppose that's marbles in the jar.
Yeah, that is William. No, it totally is. But hey, though, you mentioned something earlier about like, did you say competitive? You said that people are so competitive or something.
We are, yeah, this is actually good to have out there. If you follow me on Twitter, I've said this a few times, but like we are, because we exist in a system of like capital, power, and exchange. We are in competition with one another, just in that we are raised and we understand ourselves to be in a situation in which you either win or lose, essentially. Any money that I make is money that someone else doesn't have, right? And likewise with any resource that can be understood monetarily, which is all of the resources. So yeah, like we are in competition with one another, and that is such a pervasive spirit of ours, such a pervasive idea that it makes its way into our other kinds of interactions. Where, for example, if I have something that I would like, that I think to be true, I might hold that back from the people around me, just because saying so would cost me some kind of social credit, some kind of clout. It would remove marbles from someone else's jar, right?
Whoa. Oh, okay.
And in that sense, like I'm trying to be as ingratiated as possible. I'm in competition with other people who themselves are going out of are checking themselves, masking their actual selves to save face, etc.
Holy cow.
And so we are, in that sense, in sort of like interpersonal competition, where we're worried about saying the wrong things.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm cutting in like a pair of scissors. I'll be out in a second. I'm sorry. I have to thank God for my disability. Thank you, God, for my disability. I have a cognitive processing delay. I don't know what you're talking about, William. I'm like la-di-da-di do. I seriously, sorry to say, I had a serious panic attack. I was just in the student health center because I was like not doing well. I came out, I was like, I've got to get to the show, which is this show, right? And then on my way here, there was a sweet, lovely security, lovely person, human, standing in the hot sun, standing there. And I said to him, hey man, like, aren't you hot? And he was the sweetest. Like, he got so many marbles and flowers because he was just existing in a lovely way, not taking, not. And so I said to him, like, I picked up his table and moved it in the shade. And I picked up his chair and I said, do you need some water? And I was like, are you all right? And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm okay. I'm okay. And then he looked at me, smiled, and said, thank you. And it was over and I ran to this show. And so I just have to say thank you, God, for my disability, because I don't understand what you're talking about, William.
Yeah, it's not everybody who's internalized. It's like internal this interpersonal competition, but I do take it to be normal. I take it to be the case that like most people will hold back to save face and check themselves, and sometimes for beneficent reasons, but usually just to preserve social standing, however that's understood in context. A good example would be like there are a number of communities that revolve around non-fungible tokens tied to cryptocurrencies. In those communities, it's very common to ritualistically wish one another good morning. This is not a thing that people just organically do on Discord servers, but it did occur, and it became over time this in-group affirming ritual to say, I don't know, create a GIF that has the lowercase letters for an abbreviation GM on it, and distribute that to like the server, where hundreds of other people would publish the exact or very similar material. It's a ritual. It's an affirmation of social place, which is a thing that people are doing not because they genuinely wish one another a good morning. I don't know, but I sincerely doubt it. These people are hyper capitalists. The reason to do that is to preserve and affirm social standing. And that is the kind of thing that we relatively consistently do. If I hear somebody in a conversation mention some religious tenet or another, and I understand that from previous reading to be like problematic, I'm probably not going to mention that because we're like at work. We have to work together. So in order to save, if only to preserve that relationship, and I also have the conceit of not wanting to be disliked, not wanting to lose face. But even if that's only second, even if that wasn't the case, we would still have to be like cooperative with one another. I will neglect to mention, hey, there's a better way of looking at this problem than through this pseudo religious lens. Or hey, crystals don't heal you. That's not a thing that is true. or this thing we're doing is this
hey,
tarot
marbles
card
are
educational
silly. What
seminar
are
is
you
a waste of
talking
time.
about?
These are things that I will not say just because I want to save face. So I'm like, this is me like admitting guilt. I'm doing this interpersonal competition thing, even though I hate it, because it comes naturally raised in a system where I find myself. To me anyway.
Oh, well, do you want to take a moment right now and just maybe the listeners as well, take about 30 seconds and think about those people that deserve marbles that you feel are holding a jar that you just really just are thankful that they're in your life? Do you just want to take up 30 seconds and see how many? You don't have to say the names, but let's just see how many people we can get on this. If anybody has like a little square sticky note, or it doesn't have to be big, just a small little memo paper. Let's see how many people we can write down. We don't have to talk about names we're on the radio, but
Radio.
let's just try this and see, because
let's start now.
Yeah, let's start now.
Okay, it has been 30 seconds.
All right. So this actual exercise isn't actually timed, but because we're on the radio, we're giving you a taste, all our listeners, and just so you know how the exercise goes. So hey everyone, did you get anyone down on that little paper? You don't have to advertise who it is, but did you get anyone down? Did anyone? William?
Yeah, I did. I didn't write anything down. It was
in your head. Me too.
All
in my head. Exactly. So okay, William, could you come up with anyone?
I don't emulate me. I didn't even try. But I will mention that like cool. for all my pontificating about the hostility of the world, it's the only reason I'm thinking about any of that stuff is because I do genuinely like people, at least in a sort of general sense of like valuing humanity, I guess.
Well, William,
wishing for authenticity and intellectual richness and so forth is it's I don't know how the ancient Greeks would have pronounced it, but I do think that they had a term for that kind of thing. It's love of humanity in general, or general beneficence, agape, which I don't know exactly how historical that is. But it's frequently parroted by people that these various terms for love existed in the ancient Greek world. So that roughly, I'll say, reflects how I understand other people. It's very little of the philos or brotherly companionship stuff, and much more of the sort of general wanting the machine to work better love for humanity in general. So that's from my camp. The interpersonal side of things kind of falls to the wayside.
Okay. The whole reason why I took that 30 seconds is because, like,
Mm-hmm.
after listening to you talk, I felt like really sad. And I thought that, like, I actually love your conversations. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, when I talk with you, I'm like, that was so amazing that I just had a good conversation for once. Like, I love talking with you. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess you're right. We see things exactly opposite because I every time I finish seeing you, I'm like, that was so enlightening. I had a really nice conversation with William, but then you're telling me no one ever talks and it's boring. And I'm like, wait, don't I exist? Hey,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
I get
So,
it.
mhm.
Everyone's
so
different.
I, so I kind of want to bring us back to like disability in a way, talking about friends and stuff. I
Well,
guess my
I think
question,
William did because, like, because of my disability, I don't know what the heck he's talking about because
mhm.
I don't actually process
Yeah,
like things quickly, and I'm quite, delayed when it comes to like
mhm,
understanding what's going on. So God did me a favor, I guess, because I don't know, William, what you're feeling, and
mhm,
like I want to know more. That's why I took the 30 seconds because
mhm,
I feel pain from what you're saying, and it
mhm,
sounds painful to live like that, but my brain doesn't even know. Like I get a message like a week later, and the message is, "Hey, this is what happened." Like I don't even realize things like my brain process is kind of delayed, so
mhm.
I don't get those feelings that you're being delivered, and so I'm sorry, but it's the one of the, like, I don't know. I sometimes I'm not thankful that I have a disability, but right now I'm kind of like, golly, I didn't know.
Mhm.
I think Brian and I both share the experience, and Brian, you I mean,
Mhm.
speak for yourself, but like, I think we have in common the experience of like worrying about other people and how they will understand our
Yeah,
disabilities
exactly.
once those disabilities
Mhm.
become known.
Yeah.
For Brian, it's like visible, right? But like, so I'll speak from my experience that it's generally invisible for me.
Yeah.
It's a vision thing, so I won't necessarily be clocked as disabled until and unless I try to like read something or read something
Mhm.
quickly. Um, it won't be obvious, but like if I'm asked in some kind of group setting, hey, could you read this bit aloud? I will say, no, I probably shouldn't do that. And I won't tend to explain why,
uh
precisely because I'm
yeah,
worried that like I'll
totally.
be found less useful, wanting for utility by this group of people who are, as far as I know, non-disabled generally. Uh,
Mhm.
and it's just it's not entirely rational. I don't actually intellectually think that I will be excluded from like future events or whatever that uh, this group does just because of a known disability. In fact, I might be forgiven certain shortfalls because if it's known that I have exceptional difficulty with the particular tasks from which those shortfalls followed. And so it actually could help if people understood. But I'm there's maybe some internalized ableism going on there where I'm sort of subjectively internally embarrassed by the fact of being disabled in some particular way and what that means for my ability to read things quickly and do things I don't know like recognize faces and such. For me, those things are difficult and it's weird to it's there's a kind of yeah I guess it's an internalized shame that comes with trying to hide that from people. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
Especially because like I just like one more thing. Sorry. It's there's also an element, and I imagine this is pretty common of ambiguity to my disability. Like I don't totally know in advance what I can see and what I can't see, and it takes some time to explain what nystagmus is to people who've never heard of it. So I
Mhm.
can't just like it's very difficult to efficiently reveal that information, even if I had no internal hangups about it.
Yeah, I
So
guess
yeah, that's
like,
part of it.
mhm. Yeah, I guess this kind of leads to the question of like, do you mention your disability to like some friends, and like you don't mention your disability to other friends, or like how does that like work for like everyone here? Do you like
um
talk about it?
I have a kind of trippy thing that I observed, and I know that you all will have some comments on it. So I will try to explain this in the best way I can. So
Yeah.
I have been overseas for a while, and I'm already experiencing like culture shock confusion. So this country allows, freedom of speech. And so last semester was my first semester, and there was one teacher that announced on the first day, hi everyone, I'll be your teacher and I have ADHD and blah blah blah. And she listed her disabilities on the first day, and I was just like, I was really tripped out. And then I was like, is that okay? Wait, why did she do that? And then what my first response was like, kind of like gasp, like, and then what I realized as the semester went through, there were students that were picking on her. I'm not kidding. Like, because ADHD is we're easily distracted, and there were students like dangling carrots, saying how much they could distract her. And it was horrible. And she's not teaching this semester. It's a long story, but I was just like, that is horrible what they did to her. And I actually do have other teachers that I'm like, because I myself have certain cognitive things going on, and so it's not that I'm a doctor, but I do notice, like, if I relate quickly to someone or whatever, I can be like, oh, like, what I'm trying to say is that I think that some people just think, this is me, I'm going to do the best I can with me, and I'm not going to tell anyone or disclose it. And they could be comfortable with that. Some people could be hiding it and not be comfortable with it. And then some people could be comfortable with saying it. But is it really necessary to announce it like that to the world? And anyways, that's the example that I observed.
Yeah, I think it's like more of a personal decision if you should mention your disability to people or not. Because I know, like, I guess like it's nice to know, like, for some students, because it's nice to know kind of like I guess not really accommodations, but like knowing how to interact in a way, like if that makes sense.
But on the first day, before you know anyone, before that, like the very first time that someone meets you, I personally, just for me, it's like a marble jar. Here's where it comes. It goes full circle back. So I'm not just gonna be like, hi, my name's Kimberly and I have a disability. I'm gonna, because as William said, it's also mine too. Like, if you talk to me, you might be like, what's up with that girl? I'm sure, but but at the same time, like, it's not if I don't open my mouth, it's possible that it could be hidden for a while. Like, so I don't just like advertise it, I wait until the marbles are given, and then if it's it's like religion, or like, what kind of coffee do you like it's something that you wait till the right time or something, maybe. I don't know, what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I think like for me, like people can tell I'm disabled instantly because of my chair. So like it's not something I have to worry about because like I'm disabled, so it can be helped. But like I do agree with that. Like it just really is a personal decision because
But
like it shouldn't be like you're disabled first. It should be you first, right?
I'm disabled too, and it can't be helped. But at the same time, yeah, I see what you mean. In a way, it might even be you don't have to struggle with what William is talking about, and I feel I identify very much with that too. William, what do you think?
I guess I've only just now thought to make sure to say that I don't take my experiences to be especially grueling or bad when it comes to how disability affects interpersonal relationships, because as you say, as you point out, there are times and places in which you will be directly derided for your disability, like marginalized by the people to your face. And that is a legitimate worry that I have never actually faced. Well, never since like elementary school when anybody knew how to be even remotely socially sensitive. So
Mhm.
yeah, that is very much a thing to be concerned with and contend with. I don't know that each of us has significant personal experience with it, but it's very much still a thing. As much as we would like to see it drop off as a trend. Um, so that's something to be concerned with. And in the same general category of thoughts, if there's any advice that we can give to people, and this is by no means a definitive or educational video, really. If there is any advice that we of the Disabled Non-Disabled Alliance can give to people, it's probably it's okay to break the code. There are going to be times and circumstances in which it doesn't seem to be kosher to mention one's disability, but it can still be useful to do so for yourself, for future reference, for the to facilitate cooperation between yourself and others more effectively, because when other people know about your disability, they're going to be naturally a little bit better at accommodating for it, etc. uh, and also just because it can be an informative and profound part of your personal identity that's not immediately visually obvious to people. So yeah, it can be good to just to do that announcement. It can be good to wait for the right time. The important thing is to not worry about whether or not it's the normal time, or the
Mhm.
whether or not it's socially acceptable to mention disability in this general, in this conversation or in this social setting, whatever it happens to be. Um, because I suppose what we'll eventually arrive at as a species is that there is no normal, or if
Yeah.
there is a normal, it's like it's so loosely extrapolated from happenstance that it's meaningless. So that's kind of, I think that's an important thing to bear in mind. Going forward, if probably for most people watching this, it'll be that's a trite comment. It's gonna, yeah, obviously there's no normally we shouldn't be worried about normal. We are still worried about normal because that is natural for most people. Um, whether it's circumstantially reasonable or rational or not. Uh, but yeah, I mean, forgive me, I've
Um,
forgotten the question. Do I mention disability to like my friends?
well,
Sometimes.
no, I mean, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, what I mean is, I don't know. In my opinion, like, I don't know how to explain this. You know how there's like, let's say there's three levels. Okay, there's like sea level, and then there's below sea level, right? And there's above sea level, right? Like, so I guess what I'm trying to say is the people that I usually can communicate with best are able to be like on my same sea level, if this makes any sense. Like, so if I say like, yeah, I have a disability, sometimes like the level changes, like, so somebody feels sorry for me or something, and then the level drops or raises or whatever, and then I feel that the connection is not made. It's hard to explain. It's sometimes verbalizing, it's really weird, but like, I am who I am, but if I verbalize it and label myself first, it sometimes changes the dynamics of the, like, levels and how people can relate. I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
think
yeah, I
of
think that
that?
makes a lot of sense. It's like when you mention like your disability, everything can change. Maybe your friends start treating you differently. Like that? Like, do you mean like that?
Well, or it's almost like feel sorry for you, or
Oh, okay.
like, it's hard to explain. It's like, because you're saying that you can't hide your disability, but you actually can, because if you're like a gamer and you're talking to people right now, I would never know,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
See?
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
look
think
at you're in, yeah, look at you where you are. You're in like such a cool area. Look at behind you. It's like, if I'm a gamer, I'd be like, hey, Brian, I would never know,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah, I was like more talking about like in person, but like
yeah,
exactly like on Discord. Like I'm always active on Discord. But
right.
with Discord, I don't mention my disability in like a
Sure.
lot of different servers. Like I just kind of keep it like that. And like even if like all if I make online friends like from sexting and I meet them in person for the first time, I still don't mention my disability at all. But like
Right.
yeah, I don't have to like make that statement. But yeah.
William, do you
Um,
have any
kind of the same. Like I don't tend to,
Mhm.
and I guess this is going to turn out to be the usual case, but like I don't tend to mention my you know the visual problems until and unless they become relevant, like until and unless I can't hide the fact that they're a hindering force in my normal interactions. Um, at which
I
point it becomes like appropriate to mention
Mhm.
them just as as by way of explanation, like I'm sorry this is the case, here is why it is the case.
Yeah, I think for me, like I don't really mention my I guess like my specific disability, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, like to people. I just say that I'm a little bit weaker, but like I mention like a little bit about my disabilities when I like need help. Like, oh, I can't like put something in my backpack. Oh, my arm's kind of
yeah.
stuck. I like kind of mention like my arms are like a little weaker, but like I don't really say it specifically, my specific disability, because that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Like need based.
Mhm.
I think I'm the same. But interestingly enough, I have noticed other people who might have similar tendencies to me, but they just say like, gosh, like with William too, sometimes, I mean, I have a different disability, but there are times when I just can't see, or I flip letters around, I get confused with like what's going on. Like, so I might say like, gosh darn it, I just can't, I just can't, can you just read that for me? Or like, but I don't say I have this disability, this is what's happening. And I just ask like, golly gee, do you mind? Like, I agree with Brian, kind of need based, but I don't need to like state like my medical record. Like
Yeah, like all my friends that I made, I don't really talk about like disability. I mean, outside of like Dana, the friends I made are Dana, but like I don't really talk about my own disability like much. I just say I'm weaker when I need to say I'm weaker than like that normal people.
yeah. So I guess on an ending note, like I William, I do like how you did say you gave some credit to the visualization process of, and I loved when you gave marbles. That was so like fun, right? Like,
Marvels.
so everyone, it was, and I love the panda story, and it's just really listeners, wherever you are, at home or on the go, or wherever you are, like, yeah, please think about these concepts, and right now, if you have time after this is over, think about like who are your marble jar friends, and if you do have time, you can write down on a piece of paper those. It's nice to see like people on the paper, and you're like, yes, this person, and I'm sure they'd love to hear a little shout out too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
well, actually, we still have like 5 more minutes until we have to end it, so the conversation can keep going if you're available.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
I'll second that. I think it doesn't have to be the marble jar, I'll say. I think visual metaphors are useful for some and less for others, but a metaphor can help. Any whatever mental tool you can develop as the listener, as whoever, to help you better navigate your interpersonal experiences will be good. I mean, not necessarily, obviously, but I think the important thing is to not worry about whether or not it seems unusual or strange. That's me saying again what I said before, basically. But like, yeah, it's there. It's important to like try and actively disregard concern for what is normal, because the normal, as I think we as I don't think there's controversy in saying anymore. The normal is for people to be oppressed, and the norm is for people to have unfair disadvantages and to find themselves in situations that are hindering to them because of their various statistically unusual ways of having their brains and bodies built.
Mhm.
That's not fair. Normal is not good for you. Normal's not good for
I
them.
have to interrupt really quick because I am in the SSWD tech lab at school, and Arash is basically pressing off on the computer. He has to run.
Okay. That's why
So
you're in.
I'm losing power. I'm losing power right
Yeah.
now, but I just want to say to everyone, have a happy day, and happy marble jar friend thinking. And it was a delightful conversation, and I love this radio show. I
Mhm.
love you all. William, I love conversations with you, by the way, and Brian as well. I
Yeah.
love all of you, and
Mhm.
over and out. Bye.
Yeah.
Ciao,
Bye. See you later.
ciao.
Yeah. See you next time. Yeah, and I think with that, like we can just end it right now since Kimberly has to leave. But like before I kind of make my announcements, do you have anything to say, William?
No, I think that was it for me, at least for now. I mean, watch this space. We'll continue to be talking about disability and interpersonal relationships, etc., on the Dana podcast on through our lens.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's are some announcements. So this is the end of our podcast. We had a conversation about this abstract idea of like marbles and how like you give more marbles to people who are like who do like great things to you, and you take away marbles if they are like awful to you. That's basically what it is. But I want to move on to some announcements. So next meeting we will talk about next general meeting. We will be having it on April 22nd at 6:30 p.m. and we will be talking about accessible gardening, and that's a really important topic because I know, like for me, like I don't really like I use a wheelchair and most gardens are like really low and I can't reach it. But, like the next meeting will just be educating ourselves. The Zoom links will be on Discord and Instagram. And finally, we post episodes every Monday at 12 p.m. at ks2.com. Please check us out on YouTube at Sac State, YouTube at Dana at Sac State. We also have our podcast and club meeting schedule up on social media. We only have a few more weeks left, but we're going to end it soon. Like if you missed anything or the previous episode on club meetings, check us out on YouTube where we post our recordings there at Dana at Sac State. Thanks for listening. Bye everyone. Hashtag where's the ramp?
Where's the ramp?
Where's
And
the ramp?
don't mix the marbles and the ramps, I'll
Yeah.
say. You're listening to Through Our Lens with the Disabled and Non-Disabled Alliance at Sacramento State, a club, organization, whatever, for disabled students, staff, and their allies to discuss and educate each other about disability-related topics, advocate on behalf of disabled students and the community, and to hang out together and just be a community.
So we want to be more recognizable to Sac State. So please join the conversation by following and messaging us on Instagram at Dana at Sac State. It's DANA at Sac State.